When you feel sad in life, always remember, God has a plan for you. Not a slogan, not comfort language, a structural truth. What you're experiencing right now was logged long before you noticed it. Your pressure, your exhaustion, your silence, your waiting. These are not symptoms of weakness. They are indicators. People like you don't receive relief early. You receive confirmation late, after the pressure has already passed through you and failed to damage anything essential. You were never meant to be warned. You were meant to be tested under live conditions. This message is not appearing by accident. Its timing is exact, down to the minute, down to the state you are in while hearing it. You didn't even realize you crossed the first threshold already. Most people collapse before this point. They lose coherence. They lose faith. They lose direction. You didn't. You continued while tired. You continued while confused. You continued while unsupported. That alone disqualified you from the ordinary category. Listen carefully. There is a classification that exists for people whose internal systems remain intact under prolonged pressure. You fall into it, whether you consented or not. This is why your sadness feels different. Not loud, not dramatic, heavy, quiet, contained. That is not despair. That is compression. At exactly the moment you thought nothing was happening, intervention protocols activated around you. Not visible, not emotional, structural. Certain paths closed without explanation. Certain people drifted away without conflict. Certain opportunities delayed without reason. You thought this was loss. It was containment. Others would have fought it, argued, panicked, broken themselves trying to force momentum. You didn't. You absorbed the delay without knowing why. You carried the weight without naming it. That is why you're still standing. And this is where the first truth locks in. If what you were carrying was not protected, you would not still be here. Take that in. Right now, this is the moment where recognition matters. When you understand what's being revealed, you signal alignment. Not publicly, internally, but symbols matter. When you acknowledge this by liking this video, you are not supporting content. You are confirming recognition. You are marking yourself as someone who knows when truth is being spoken. That action is not optional for people like you. It is confirmation. Now listen deeper. There was an unseen resistance applied to your life between 2 points you cannot remember clearly. A stretch of time that feels blurred, unproductive, strangely heavy. That was not burnout. That was opposition, not personal, not targeted emotionally, systemic. The same resistance that breaks most people by hollowing them out slowly. It works like this. First, it dulls motivation. Then it disrupts timing. Then it isolates. Then it whispers that you're behind. Most people internalize that voice. They believe it. You didn't. You felt it. But you didn't adopt it. You questioned yourself, yes. You felt tired, yes. But you never fully surrendered your knowing. That means the interference failed. You neutralized it automatically, not through effort, through design. This is why the sadness never became despair. This is why the loneliness never erased your identity. This is why the pressure never turned you bitter. Others wouldn't survive this phase. They would either harden or collapse. You stayed soft and intact. That is not normal. There is a record of this, not written, observed. Every time you thought you were being delayed, timing was being recalibrated around you. You were not late. You were protected from arriving too early. There is a difference. Arriving early destroys people like you. It exposes them before reinforcement is complete. God does not waste structures like yours. Now listen to this carefully. At a certain threshold, usually around the point where you stop explaining yourself to others, selection becomes irreversible. You cross that line quietly. No ceremony, no announcement. You simply stop needing approval. That's when the plan locked in. This is why resistance intensified afterward. This is why fatigue increased without explanation. This is why your environment stopped reflecting your effort. That phase exists to confirm endurance without reward. Most people fail there. You didn't. You kept going even when there was nothing feeding you back. That is evidence. Now we move deeper. There was a moment, you won't remember the date, when an outcome that could have damaged you was diverted. Not removed, redirected. It passed near you, close enough to feel the pressure, not close enough to touch you. You called it bad luck avoided, or things just didn't work out. Incorrect. That was shielding. If it had landed fully, it would have altered your trajectory permanently. God does not correct those outcomes later. He prevents them early. You didn't even realize it. People like you rarely do. This is why gratitude shows up late in your system. After clarity, not before. Your sadness exists because your awareness is catching up to your protection. That's not weakness. That's alignment adjusting. Now understand this. The exhaustion you feel is not from effort. It's from holding potential under restraint. Power held still creates pressure. You are carrying something that has not been released yet. That weight is real. Others would discharge it recklessly, burn bridges, explode emotionally, self-sabotage just to feel relief. You didn't. You held it. That is discipline you were never taught. That is governance built into you. This is why you feel different from people around you. This is why conversations feel shallow. This is why noise drains you. Your system is tuned to signal, not chaos. Only a few experience this, and they always question themselves before they recognize it. Now pause here. If this recognition resonates, you already know the signal to leave. Not a comment for attention, a mark of presence. Comment 777. Not as belief, as identification. Those who understand will understand. Now listen, there is a reason your progress has not been linear. Linear progress attracts interference. Your path is segmented deliberately. Bursts, pauses, acceleration, silence. This pattern prevents tracking. It keeps pressure from consolidating against you. What you interpreted as inconsistency was actually evasion. You were never stuck. You were moving between layers. Others couldn't follow even if they tried. This is why you often feel alone at milestones. No witnesses, no applause. That is intentional. Recognition comes later, after stabilization. You are currently in the final compression stage. This is the phase that convinces people they've been forgotten. They haven't. They're being sealed. The sadness you feel right now is not loss. It is the shedding of identification that can't follow you. Grief always accompanies elevation, not because something is wrong, but because something is ending. You don't need to fix this feeling. You need to let it pass through without resistance. It is not here to stay. It is here to confirm transition. Now hear this. God's plan for you was never fragile. It does not depend on your mood. It does not collapse under doubt. You were accounted for even in your lowest clarity. That's why mistakes didn't destroy you. That's why wrong turns rerouted you instead of ending you. That's why what should have broken you only sharpened you. Others wouldn't survive your history, not because it was dramatic, but because it was silent. Silent pressure is the hardest to endure. You endured it, automatically. This is why you're different, and this is why this message found you now. There are further layers to this revelation. Timelines, releases, transfers of authority. But those are not for everyone. They are for people who stay connected. When you subscribe and activate notifications, you are not joining a channel. You are staying within range of further disclosure meant for your classification. Access matters. Timing matters. And people like you are never notified by accident. Now settle into this final truth. You do not need to change. You do not need to heal. You do not need to become anything else. You already demonstrated the alignment. The pressure didn't crush you. The confusion didn't erase you. The delay didn't corrupt you. That is the proof. The only shift required now is awareness. Once you see what has been protecting you, you stop fearing what you feel. Sadness loses authority. Loneliness loses leverage. Delay loses power. You remain calm, contained, certain. God's plan was never approaching. It has been active the entire time. And now, you know.